Hello, this is great to be here. Dennis, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Worth.
Yeah, we met probably for the first time in, was it January, February? I can't remember, earlier this year.
It was.
And visited a little bit, and we just found out you graduated from like Hamilton.
I did.
And I graduated from Mountain Pine, which nobody's ever heard of, which is just outside of Hot Springs on the other side.
Heard of it.
Yeah, well.
Because I'm from Hot Springs.
Right, well, yeah, we played football, probably.
Probably so.
Maybe not. I don't know. So it's good to see you again. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. I had a chance to come and visit your lab earlier this spring. It was awesome. Really, truly incredible technology that I couldn't even imagine at the time. So I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say today. And I know you just started a new role. This is your first time speaking publicly since you assumed that role about 30 days ago.
That's right.
So can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your bio?
Sure. So first of all, it's great to be here with you, Worth, and great to be with this audience. And it's been a great day so far, hearing the keynotes and connecting with folks outside in the hallways. Great community here in Northwest Arkansas. As Worth said, I'm with ArcBest. We're a transportation logistics company, a multi-billion-dollar transportation logistics company who has its roots in Arkansas. We're about 15,000 strong across North America, about 250 service centers and campuses across North America. I've been with the company for a little over 21 years now in various roles. Started my career pricing freight at ArcBest. Started my career there, moved into strategy in 2011, so about 13 years ago. And then have over the years also had responsibility for our customer experience. So that's our marketing, PR functions, as well as at other times sales and customer service. So I had a lot of customer-facing experience to go along with that strategy. And one of the reasons is because our company puts the customer at the center of our strategy. And so it allows us to really affect their supply chains in a positive way and give them great insights into how to manage their supply chains beyond just moving freight. So it's exciting to be here and share some of that experience today.
Cool. So like I said, this is your first public appearance in your new role. You're now, I'm gonna make sure I get it right, Chief Innovation and Strategy, or Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, right, if I get that, because Michael Newcity had announced his retirement, so you guys are transitioning that. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that role and what that means for ArcBest?
Absolutely. So, Worth, you mentioned Michael Newcity, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about his influence on our company. He spent 30 years with our company in various roles, and his most recent as the Chief Innovation Officer and the President of our technologies group. And so, as you mentioned, he's announced his retirement, and so I'll be taking on that role and in that role as we speak here in the innovation role as well. So we have about 600 technologists of those and innovation folks out of that 15,000. So everything from software developers to data scientists to R&D. So things like you saw in the lab with robotics engineering. So very exciting to be part of that. Very exciting to be part of what is helping drive supply chain in the industry forward in this new role, and then bring the business strategy and the customer experience around that as well. So it's a very exciting role to take on for me.
That's cool. So you mentioned your career and the fact that you had worked for Walmart in the past. So you were in engineering there, is that correct?
Yes. So I actually started my career at Walmart here in Northwest Arkansas for about a year and a half. And so I did an internship in engineering, logistics engineering. So those of you that are familiar with industrial engineering know that that's usually entailing things like time studies. All right, we got some, I see Dean Needy out there celebrating that. So our logistics engineering group at Walmart was really focused on the inside the facilities, what was happening there from a technology perspective, but also just process improvement in those facilities. And then when I went to work full time, when I graduated with my degree, I went full time into the logistics planning group, which was really more about the network, the distribution network there, store to DC alignments, freight flow forecasting, and really 5-year planning for when and where new DCs would come on to the network. So it was very, very informative for where I am now in my career, and really the entire 20-plus year journey that I've had so far with ArcBest. Just helping me see the world from what is now our customer's perspective, but also give me an insight into what goes on in the Fortune 1 supply chain. And so I understand quite a bit about supply chain, even just based on a brief stint there at the beginning of my career.
So you're a 100-year-old company. Was it last year you celebrated your 100-year anniversary? So when you think about a company that's that old, sometimes it comes with a little bit of dust. You start to think, well, maybe that company's not new and innovative, especially if they're like in middle America like we are. That's not really the case for you guys. As we talked about, just seeing that lab was very eye-opening for me last year or earlier this year. How do you determine what tech to invest in? And how do you continue staying on the leading edge while maintaining your core business?
That's great questions, Worth. And so first of all, I'll talk about the 100-year history of the company. I mean, I would look at it from the perspective of, to last 100 years, a company has to innovate. We don't do things the same way that we did them 5 years ago, and we certainly don't do them the same way that we did 100 years ago. And so it's a constant effort to make sure that we're reinventing ourselves and that we're staying current with what is happening in the world of technology, what's happening in the world of innovation, and how that can impact us, or what ideas we can take and transform our business. And so it's very important for a company that celebrates a century to have had that in our DNA, and I would argue that we wouldn't be here that long without having had that in our DNA. Just the second part of that question, which is, how do we focus on the core business while we're also innovating, which I think is maybe one of the central themes of this discussion today. First of all, I attribute one of the things that you have to start with is financial discipline. If your core business is not performing, most organizations will not have the opportunity to innovate when that core business is not performing. And it makes it very difficult to have a discussion about innovation if you can't make sure that core business innovates. So you really have to take a dual path and be able to impact that core business with innovation. And so that's something that we've really focused on, is how can we improve the cash flow in the core business with things like AI, with things like machine learning. We've got several, beyond just what's in the lab, things that are more day-to-day improvements, process improvements, technology application, automation, augmentation, particularly I think of our customer service type roles. How can we make sure that our people are empowered with the technology advancements that we can access or we can create? And so it's about making sure that core business is taken care of and that it's cash flowing well, and that gives you much more opportunity to be innovative, which is something that we've been able to balance, I think, to be able to get to that century mark.
So one thing you said, innovation doesn't necessarily have to be giant sea change. It can be small incremental changes here and there throughout the business. I think that's an interesting point. But you inspired a couple of questions. So when it comes time to talk to leadership about, you work for a public company, you've got to allocate your CapEx and your spend on innovation because you've got to maintain that core business. How do you have that conversation? What's that like? And if it's easy for you guys, what was it like at Walmart?
Sure. Well, I would never say that a conversation about innovation is easy because it is. It is in a lot of ways. It'll be competing with dollars that someone needs for immediate addressing of a core business issue. I would argue that might be what you need to innovate to overcome those core business issues. But at the same time, in business, it comes down to being able to articulate value. And then the other thing that it comes down to is being able to align around what our priorities are going to be. And so we've in our strategy, as part of kind of my work in strategy over the last few years, we've mapped our strategy. We've talked about what our strategy statement is. So we've done a lot of work to be able to execute our strategy better. And one of the things that we crystallized in that work are 3 pillars. And so our 3 pillars of our strategy are growth, efficiency, and innovation. And so as a leadership team, when we align around those pillars, and I can always come back and say, hey, innovation is a pillar of our strategy, and it's one of the things that's kept us alive for a century. Those are the kinds of things that allow us to say, okay, well then, how much? Then you get into the conversation about, well, how much do we have to allocate for whatever the project or the issue is that we need to invest in to be able to innovate.
Not a lot of companies have a chief strategy and innovation officer, so it really, in it being one of your pillars, that is baked into your DNA. So that's great. So as you innovate and bring things on board, can you just give us a sense of how much of your core business now is are things that were innovation projects 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Just kind of, can you talk a little bit about that evolution?
Sure. Well, it'd be difficult to quantify how much, but I can talk about, for sure, several of our key cost areas across our business and then our growth areas as well are things that have been impacted by innovation in the last 5 to 10 years. And I'll say right now, I see that continuing to happen going forward, whether that's from innovation in the lab or it's innovation in emerging technologies, whether it's working with startups. I'll talk about some examples here, particularly with AI. And in the last 5 years, one of our larger returning AI projects has been around our operations in the city. So for those of you that are familiar with ArcBest, our roots are in less than truckload transportation. So with ABF in particular, you can see there's a North American network there of about 240 service centers, and every day those service centers are picking up freight, delivering freight, and passing it through the network to get to its destination. So think larger than parcel size moves, but smaller than would fill a full truckload. And so that's a very complicated math problem when you're thinking about how to set up delivery routes, how to staff those delivery routes, and being able to leverage machine learning and AI with that over the last 5 years, maybe even less than that, has driven tangible business value for us. And so being able to put that right in the day-to-day operation has been powerful for us. And we've been talking with our investors and the Wall Street community about how much that's impacted our business. I think we're up to about $13 million annually in savings just from that one project. And then the next iteration of that's on deliveries. The next iteration of that would be on pickups. So a lot of our pickups every day are not known when the day starts. So it's a live optimization problem that we're working through every day. And so being able to predict that demand and then work through that as the day progresses at the end of the day, to have a very optimized operation is very powerful. The other things that we're working on, so the lab as well has been a place that we've been able to do some experimentation, learn some things. We've piloted things within ABF. Some things worked, some things didn't. One thing that is very impactful going forward for ABF is our dock software came out of working on the lab and then working on one of our latest innovations, Vox Freight Movement. And so that is about halfway rolled out through our service center network at this point, and we'll be continuing to roll that out through the next year. But that software that our people are operating with every day came from just thinking completely differently about how we would move freight across a dock. And then, think about on the customer side of things. We think about customer interactions. And so in our business, logistics is a service business. And so lots of customer service interactions. We handle millions of emails and phone calls, which are, in one sense, a lot of cost to navigate. In another sense, they're a treasure trove of data. And understanding the interaction value from those is very critical. And so leveraging Gen AI to help us understand the quality of our service interactions, but then also help us augment what our people are able to provide from a service perspective and make that customer's experience better. Those are just some examples, but we've also partnered with startups, and that's another kind of function of our innovation group. Is partnering with the startup community in addressing key business challenges. I mean, I think of things like telematics in our business, provide us data real time that helps us be more optimized in that operation. But also, we have not only in the freight operation, but we also have a logistics arm that's helping optimize supply chains. And so we're working with startups to do things as strategic as optimize a customer supply chain. So lots and lots of impact on our core business from what we're doing from an innovation perspective.
Okay, and you kind of touched on some of the challenges your customers face. A lot of your customers are retail customers. So are you ready to talk about Vox? So coming back to Vox, that's been transformational for some of your customers.
It has.
That's what you guys showed me. Tell us a little bit about that. It's really cool.
Sure. So Vox is a material handling suite, and I think we have a couple of videos queued up here. We'll start with the video on the Vox Freight Movement System. And so this came out of our efforts to just rethink how we move freight. So if we're ready with that video, we can cue that now.
Traditionally, trailers are loaded or unloaded piece by piece. This process typically requires moving each pallet multiple times. Dozens of trips in and out of the trailer, and manual work inside of the trailer to place load bars or secure pieces of freight. With Vox, the entire trailer can be unloaded in one swift movement. Thanks to the Vox MP. The MP coupler connects to any standard forklift, enabling complete maneuverability of the MP. And once positioned, the freight can be swarm processed from all sides. When it's time to load freight, the Vox MP can be configured in thousands of ways, depending on the needs of the shipment. All of this is enabled and enhanced by our proprietary Vox OS. This suite of software enables GPS tracking of the MP, gives clear insight into the location of every piece of freight, provides next best move workflows for the MP placement and freight processing. And integrates seamlessly with existing warehouse management systems. Vox completely transforms how freight is processed in warehouses and distribution centers, all while operating more sustainably. Welcome to the supply chain of the future. Welcome to Vox.
So pretty exciting innovation there, and that was just getting started. So that was we announced that last year, 2023. That actually won a Time Best Invention award in 2023 from right here in Arkansas. So when we say homegrown, that's homegrown. So that was phase one, though. Phase two, we announced, or 2.0, we've called Vox Smart Autonomy. And so these are complementary, but they don't necessarily have to go together in a customer context. But we have a video to show about Vox Smart Autonomy as well, if you're ready to roll that. We think so.
So I kind of geeked out on this when you guys showed me around, because I have driven forklifts. Can you kind of maybe talk just a little bit about what was shown in the videos? So you mentioned swarm processing, and then kind of that differentiation between Vox and Vox 2.0.
Sure. So I'll start with the freight movement system, which really allowed the MP, which stands for mobile platform, allows basically the freight to be loaded and unloaded from a trailer in basically one motion. So if you think about what happens today in any operation that's loading and unloading trailers, generally, if it's a forklift in and out with a number of pallets, they're playing a game of drive all the way in with one pallet and all the way out and get the other one back in, and you're playing a game where you can only access one side of that load, and so you're playing Tetris with 3 of the sides tied behind your back, essentially. And so that's the way freight has been loaded and unloaded for a long time, especially in the last century with the way that warehouses and trucks have interacted during the 20th and then the first part of the 21st century. What this allows is really any standard forklift through you might have seen the little green device that was between the forklift and that mobile platform. We call that a coupler. And that device allows that forklift to be able to maneuver that mobile platform to anywhere in a facility that you would want to stage it. And then we call it swarm processing because you're able to access the freight from multiple sides. You're able to maybe have multiple forklift drivers access the same load at the same time, which is not going to happen if you're driving in and out of a trailer one by one. And so we just think it dramatically impacts the way freight is loaded and unloaded. The other thing that happens with that we've noticed, I mean, there was some video there about how configurable it is with tables and bracing around the outside of the freight. That allows a much more sustainable answer and efficient answer if you're moving product that is not stackable, because you can actually put different levels of that same product. And we've got one example where we've got a customer who's tripled the amount of freight that they can move in a trailer because of that particular mobile platform configuration. So it's powerful from that perspective.
So is that a cost savings for
Absolutely.
them? Okay.
It's a cost savings and it's a more sustainable answer because they're not moving as many trucks down the road to get the same amount of product moved.
Right. I can remember a store manager yelling at me saying that we need what's on the back end of that truck out right now. And so you're kind of, that creates a problem.
That's everyone's favorite. Fire drill, pull all the freight off, get that one piece, then put all the freight back on to be reworked later. Yeah, that's a really efficient answer.
That's awesome. Talk about the automation.
Yes, absolutely. So the part 2, the Vox Smart Autonomy, we call it Smart Autonomy because they're autonomous forklifts that can move autonomously. But one of the things that we believe in at ArcBest is keeping the human in the loop. And so when I talk about even our AI advancements, and I talked about augmentation, we want to make sure that expert is there when our customer needs it, just like we want to make sure that when the forklift raises its hand and says it needs something, that there's an operator that's able to move it without running out onto the floor or maybe even relocating to where that facility is. When we say it can be teleoperated, it can be remotely teleoperated. We actually demonstrated this in Italy a few weeks ago and operated forklifts in the lab in Fort Smith from Italy. So it's a blend, and it's why we call it smart autonomy. It's smart enough to blend in the teleoperation when it's needed and be able to operate fully autonomous mode when it's not.
And I'm going to say this, you didn't bring it up, and it's not explicitly stated in the video, but you guys are real big on safety. So all the lights you saw, safety, and I know he probably wasn't supposed to do this, but in our demonstration, I can't remember his name, he stepped basically right in front of a moving forklift, and it stopped. So he did that just for me, I know. But that is one thing that you guys hammered home, and it's important to me, so that's why I asked about it, and I wanted to bring it up.
Absolutely.
So what new technologies are coming out of ArcBest that people ought to be looking for?
Well, Nothing to announce specifically today, but we do
Not
have
in your quiet period
several.
or anything, are you?
Do I know?
I want some news.
Just me and you talking.
Okay,
right?
okay, yeah.
I think you can expect us to continue to innovate around our customers. This Vox is an example of that. I don't think we're finished on that front. I think there's just more to go that's very synergistic with the first two phases here. But also, when we think about in the customer arena, we've done a lot of investment over the last year plus around not just the AI and some of the more headline grabbing things, but we've also done a lot of work around infrastructure, which is maybe not as fun to talk about. But you talk about being a 100-year-old company. Sometimes you have to upgrade infrastructure to keep progressing forward. So we've done a lot of that, releasing some incremental changes this year, I think, that have really helped our customers with better visibility. That's laddering up maybe into some platform possibilities for us, particularly from a customer-facing perspective. And so I would say stay tuned on that front. But also, with the customer service type things, making sure that our customers have the connectivity, but then are also able to have the data and insights that they need to run their business. They may be able to make more intelligent decisions based on the information that we provide them about what's going on in our operation or what they can expect with their freight. And so stay tuned on the customer-facing front, and we'll always be working on things in the lab.
Right. So it's not just moving freight; it's also the data and then how you use that data on the back end.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about a lot. What is the impact on Northwest Arkansas? So we kind of get a sense nationally, but we're here.
Right. Well, and that's something that's important to us. I mean, 15,000 of our folks. We've got about 2,100 of that 15,000 live and work in Arkansas, and so and the vast majority of those are Fort Smith area based, and then we have other facilities around Northwest Arkansas, Central Arkansas as well, where our employees are based. And so it's very important for us to make an impact. Our mission is to connect and positively impact the world through solving logistics challenges. And the world is not only the world, but it's the world outside our back door. So we're very community focused. We've made investments in our community. I think it was 2 years ago, we had $1 million investment in the Peak Innovation Center there in Fort Smith, which is if you don't know, is a collaboration of our education sector and our business sector there in Fort Smith to make sure that we're delivering education that allows, especially in some of these technical roles, allows kids to advance and then enrich our state and our region. So I think that's a theme that technology and innovation allows this region to be enriched, and it allows us collaboration opportunities. I think this particular event is a great example of the collaboration opportunities that exist now in Northwest Arkansas, because we've got a focus and an investment on innovating, and particularly innovating around technology. The diversity that is in the room, the diversity that's in the region has just grown tremendously. I mean, since I was in school here 20 plus years ago, working at Walmart 20 plus years ago, things have evolved, across Northwest Arkansas. I've been at the bookends of Northwest Arkansas and Fort Smith and Bentonville in the last 20 plus years to see that happen firsthand, and to see the collaboration that happens, the community that it attracts when we invest in technology. And I'll say, even in our business in the lab, where we've invested in robotics engineers, for example, they come from all over the world. And we've got people coming from all over the world to live and work and develop some cutting edge technology in Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is exciting because it enriches our culture and then creates greater possibility I think about, I've got two teenage girls. My daughters will have a better answer and more opportunity available to them in this region because of what we're investing in from a tech and innovation perspective. And so that excites me about what it means for Northwest Arkansas.
Right. Yeah. So you may remember the time before 49 was up, before this building was here. So yeah, it's amazing what has happened in a relatively short time. I was confused by the session timer, and I think we did start a little bit early, but I think we're pretty close to Q&A time if there's anyone that wants to ask Dennis any questions. Did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, I think we're ready for
out?
some questions if
Okay.
you're ready.
Can you talk about on the software side within your ArcBest release? Do you rely more on the third-party provided software like Manhattan and others, or do you really have more of a homegrown, or is it a mixed release there with respect to transportation software?
Sure. So the question is the software that we're using either in the lab or across our business, and is it homegrown? Is it third party? It's a blend. So we for a long time in our history, we focused on really develop ourselves. We began developing software, and we've got some of our folks in the room here that weren't around then, but we did begin. They're in our technology team. We began developing software in the '60s, and so there was a long time to develop our own. And I would say within the last 5 to 10 years, we've tremendously expanded into blending that third-party set of tools with our own proprietary software. So what you've seen in the lab is proprietary for the most part. There are very little third-party components to that. Outside of that, when you get into more of our core operations, is where you start to see more of the influence of third-party software. Some of the optimizing softwares packages that you mentioned. We've got some third-party TMS in certain areas of our business, and certainly in our managed business, which is one of our fastest-growing businesses. Customers like us to be very open in that platform, and so to be able to connect to a lot of different software platforms, we're capable of doing that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
How large is your team?
So we have about 600 on the technology side of things, technology innovation side of things.
That's amazing. That's a lot of people.
It is, and it's exciting to have that kind of capability. But in supply chain, technology is really where value is being created these days. And so it's important that we have the capability to be able to drive, not only our company forward, but also supply chains in general forward.
I think we've got a couple of questions over here.
Yeah, hi. I guess my question is, what area do you think has the most number of uncertainties in the future? I know there's challenges of, any good idea can fall flat. In reality, there's adoption, there's seeing things through. So what area would you think has the most sort of head-scratching uncertainties, like we sure hope this goes the way we want it to go, but who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think, any innovation, I would say, has some uncertainty to it. You mentioned just a general area that always, for me, carries quite a bit of uncertainty and almost every technology requires some level of adoption by someone. And especially when you have something that's new to the market, like, you saw the video of the freight movement system. Nobody had ever seen a mobile platform before we invented it. And so getting that out there into customers to see the use cases that they're going to adopt in their situations has been really important. And so I would say customer adoption or adoption of technology in general is always a pretty big area of uncertainty, and it's probably one of the biggest make or break issues in whether a certain technology or an innovation succeeds or fails. How does it impact someone else's life? And so that's why we spend a whole lot of time thinking about what our customers' experience is with those things. But in terms of a specific technology or area of uncertainty, I mean, there's always risk, and so the uncertainty on the risk side of things like security, safety, Worth talked about it. Those are things that we have to be able to manage and have to be able to mitigate where possible. But I would say, for me, I'm always thinking about how's this going to be adopted, and that's probably the biggest area of uncertainty with any kind of innovation or technology that we create.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, you've spoken a lot about innovation and efficiency, and I was just wondering if you could highlight, especially for the young professionals that are getting ready to enter the workplace, how we can focus on developing a mindset that's more focused on efficiency and innovation.
Oh, it's a great question. So, one of the things that for me, I think about how could we do this better a lot. And that's a great question to ask in just about any situation. Sometimes it's worth it to pursue it. Sometimes you ask the question and it's a long, complicated answer that isn't better than what your situation is today. But to me, that growth and efficiency always comes back to asking how we can do things better. And having that mindset, I think approaching whatever role that you're in, whether it's, whether like when I started out, I was in an engineering type role, which we had to ask that question every day. But even if you're in some other role in the company, even if you're developing software, there should always be how can I do this more quickly, more efficiently, with greater quality. There should always be that striving to do better. And in that question, in that pursuit, you'll find yourself getting better, and you'll find yourself delivering efficiency and innovation for whatever organization you're working for. And that's a really great thing to do, to be known for helping make things better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dennis? Yes? No? So kind of along that lines, I was just curious, what is your relationship like with the University of Arkansas? How do you interact with them?
Absolutely, great question. So the University of Arkansas is my alma mater, and certainly connected with our engineering department. I'm a member of the Arkansas Academy of Industrial Engineers, and so we work closely with the industrial engineering department there in the engineering college to make sure that we're connecting with alumni, with the department, with the students. Also, this past spring, I sat on Dr. Chase Rainwater's advisory council, so working with him on the liaison committee there for the industrial engineering group to be able to see how can we help attract more industrial engineers, but at the same time be able to prepare them for business and also have a more, I'd say, symbiotic relationship between business and education. And so it's a great relationship, and I look forward to continuing that for sure.
Yeah, it's great when, I've got a friend that moved here to go to engineering school, and now he works in Fort Smith. He makes pistols. He doesn't work for you guys, but, it's great that there's a place for engineers to apply their trade and others. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? All right. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for telling me some more stuff that I didn't know. I know you guys have some exciting stuff coming up, and I can't wait to hear about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Worth. It's great to be with everyone today. Thank you.